What's going on, everybody? This is the Blockchain Backer, bringing you the latest cryptocurrency news and analysis. Today, we'll be taking a look over here at the Bitcoin price chart, along with the altcoin market as it knocks on the 2021 all-time high door, coming off of yesterday's Fed meeting where they cut by 0.25% or 25 basis points, and the market has it priced in with an 89% probability that we will see another 25 basis points at the next meeting on October 29th. But not only is the altcoin market knocking on the all-time high door, so is the Russell 2000. Yesterday, during the live stream of the Fed meeting or the FOMC press conference, we saw the Russell 2000 get within 1 point of its 2021 all-time high. Then, as Jerome Powell spoke, we saw all types of chaos happening in here. We saw the same thing happen over here in the cryptocurrency market with all kinds of volatility all over the place as we were live streaming this thing. But then, as the live stream came to a completion and the day came to an end, up and away went the market, with total 3 hitting right over here where we poked on September 13th, which again is poking over there at December 7th of last year, which is poking at November 10th of 2021. So yesterday we were able to close with our highest close ever for total 3, yet still unable to clear December's levels. As we can see over here for total 2, we are obviously closing above December's levels. And boy, we got again within a hairline of being able to close above this level. But what is this? We'll go ahead and go all the way back to 2021, and that's our previous all-time high. So you can see how close we actually are at this point. We're literally knocking on the door. I don't know how to say it in any other way, that we are within just a mere 0.17% of that 2021 all-time high for total 2 right now, with the Russell 2000 0.87% away from the 2021 all-time high. Of course, anytime these things are like this, I love to post about them to kind of poke fun at the block reward halving cycle narrative. There's a tremendous amount of false narratives in this market, but obviously we've kind of beaten this one down pretty hard, how they're all tied together. The equity markets, the crypto markets, obviously evidenced by these charts and these things that we show here on the YouTube channel and on X and in the newsletters. But what we've been waiting for is some type of catalyst that can push its way out for macro markets like the Russell 2000 in order to give Ethereum that lift off to get it into the new all-time highs, along, of course, with total 3. So the question is, was the 25 basis point rate cut good enough? Does this mean we're on now a easing cycle or moving to an accommodative state with the Fed where money is going to get a little bit looser? They were a little bit mixed on their messaging. One, they didn't slow down QT, right? So they're still continuing that. The market would have loved to hear that. They're going to reduce the balance sheet runoff or slow down that pace or even stop it. They didn't get that. He called the cut a risk management move due to labor markets, but it means what? He's moving away from inflation. Inflation is no longer the number one thing. The dot plot tilted a little bit dovish. It moved down a little bit, meaning more cuts. But of course, what the market wants to hear is, hey, we're going to move towards an accommodative stance. But instead, he said, we're moving towards neutral. I guess that makes sense. You get to neutral before you get to accommodative, but walking a tightrope, not wanting markets to overreact. But, the question obviously is, this week, are we going to get the actual juice for it to bust out of here now? The market obviously has responded very well in the last 12 hours since the Fed meeting, with that altcoin market really pressing up against the highs in here. Right. This is yesterday's open for the Russell 2000. You can see the Fed meeting pushes it up. It still holds on top of the close or on top of the open from the day. And here we are in overnight trading, still shooting its way up in here. But we all know that's the glory land right in there to get out of here. The scary thing, of course, when it comes to the markets or when it comes to the Fed is you get that first move, and that first move can be the fake move. And we talked about that yesterday. The first move is not the real move. Then sometimes the second move can be the real move, but not be the real move. And the volatility that happens from Fed stuff, it typically takes a lot of digesting, and we have to get through the day before the Fed, the day of the Fed, the day after the Fed, and the day after the Fed, like through tomorrow, right? Friday. But we've definitely seen it before where we go through the Fed meeting like this, and during the Fed meeting, we get all the way up here, and then it does this type of move, and then it just keeps going, and it's like a full-blown reversal, and we're not seeing that happen right now. We're seeing the market try to shoot back up. An example of that is right here, because we live streamed that Fed meeting. The market ripped into the meeting, even into Jerome Powell talking. So our initial reaction to the Fed rate was slight down, then Jerome Powell talking shot it all the way up. And then in the middle of the meeting, it came all the way down and then just kerplunked on itself. So it's why typically the day after and the day after the day after kind of give a better clue of the actual true direction. And the first thing we are noticing is that it is actually shifting its way to the upside. And that really gets pointed out too by the altcoin market, because here is the Fed meeting all right in here, right? What did we just show? Examples of it. It goes like this, and then boom. Here we are the next day. We've held this kind of range during the Fed meeting and then pushed its way back up. So certainly exciting, certainly fingernail biting happening right now, because we are back at the literal peak and still the crowd is despondent, right? And it's okay if you feel that way. That's just how the whole market is right now. Lack of faith, lack of care, lack of believing that retail will pour into this market. That's typical all-time high jitters. And I don't really know why that phenomenon happens right here, but it does. Like, I do get it. Like, when you get back to here, these are obviously the biggest resistance levels on the chart, right? So we're underneath the absolute biggest resistance in the history of the cryptocurrency market. And so when you're underneath there, people are naturally going to feel worried and concerned. Are we going to be able to get out of it? But the relief rally, right? It's a disbelief rally. Don't trust the rally, right? We got fooled by this one. We got fooled by this one, right? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times, it's not going to happen. The market doesn't believe in it, even though it's the highest prices we've ever seen for the market cap of the altcoin market. So the obvious reaction of the Russell 2000 during the Fed meeting was total and complete chaos in here. But as we've now gotten through that meeting, overnight hours, we've noticed the Russell is still shifting right back up. Now within 0.74% of the 2021 all-time high, with total 2 literally bouncing around 0.5% to each side of the 2021 all-time high as we get ready to kick off this Thursday morning. So what's the big watch for today and for tomorrow? Obviously to see that there's going to be follow through, right? We've got a good overnight reaction, but now it's time to see, do we get the big break happening over here during regular trading hours today and sustain it in tomorrow into the weekly close for the stock market? And barring that we do end up getting it over here for the Russell 2000, well, you know the story. It's probably going to get pretty exciting here in the market. And that's finally when all that despondence, all that disbelief rally stuff kind of comes to an end. You just need to have headlines of all-time highs. That's typically the thing that draws the crowd in and brings the emotions back in. We talked about this stuff back in 2023 and 2024 of what it's like to have the weight lifted off of your shoulders, right? For Bitcoin, that point would have been right here at $32,000. We'd gone through a lot of that psychological discussion, had gone through like emotional logs to talk about that, how the weight of the world feels like it gets lifted once that range gets broken. And it was, right? That's where euphoria happens. That is likely the case here for the altcoin market and for the crypto market. And of course, for the Russell 2000, get above these levels and that sentiment probably changes drastically. But as you can see, as we kick off this Thursday, September 18th, there's a 2021 all-time high for total 3. Here's where you are right now. Yesterday, the 17th, the highest daily close in history. We are currently above the 2021 high currently right now, which is at 1.13 trillion. We're at 1.15 trillion. Now we just need a confirmed bust out of here with this guy as we continue inching closer and closer and closer for the last month and a half. And if we do, of course, we'll probably see everything do very well, including XRP, which I know a lot of people are waiting on, but the truth is we've got to see this thing be able to do it at the same time. Stocks are poised to open very positively today. The Russell 2000's up 1.5%. The Nasdaq's up over 1%. The S&P's up almost 1%. And the Dow is up about 0.75%. You can see it's up 331 points compared to yesterday's plus 260. While the S&P and the Nasdaq closed slightly down yesterday, you can see that even though the Nasdaq was down 50, it's at up 267 this morning, and the S&P being down 6, it's up 56 this morning in pre-market. Like I've been saying, I do think that the remainder of the story of this crypto cycle is going to be about the altcoin market, and we can see that over there on the Bitcoin dominance. I brought this up time and time again. The monthly time frame indicators are getting absolutely annihilated over here for Bitcoin in regards to this big trend that it's had in here for the last couple of years. You can see that we have flipped on the MACD on the monthly. We've lost the trend over here on the relative strength index, the stochastic RSI breaking below. I do think the story is the altcoin market for the remainder of this. That still poses the challenge over here on Bitcoin and getting a really strong read on it, on whether this is going to end up being a retracement for Bitcoin, or if this is really just going to be the last push into the final parabola happening here for Bitcoin before it comes to a conclusion. The main area to watch over here for Bitcoin is going to be that retracement level back there at $119,300 at the 702 retracement. The reason why that one's an area of interest, just in historical tops for Bitcoin, it's that 702 that becomes the problem. That's at about 119,300. Typically, if that's going to end up being the case, what we usually see by now already is we see a lot of extreme greed. We see a lot of YOLO, diamond hands, laser eyes, retail investor euphoria. If that 702 were to be a problem, typically we would have already seen the Bitcoin dominance take a large spill. An example of that from back in 2021 is that you can see in here when Bitcoin does do its 702 Fibonacci retracement. Here, the Bitcoin dominance has already fallen down drastically. And so by the time we actually got there, we had already fallen very far. And we were in the thick of extreme euphoria. We know we're not in the thick of extreme euphoria. So while 119,300 definitely is an area to keep an eye out for, we still don't see that behavior in retail investors that typically would insinuate that's going to be it. But it is a technical area to watch, because in 2017 and 2018, that was also the case here, that Bitcoin went in to a 702 retracement. But again, by the time we had gotten there, we had already seen a very drastic fall in the Bitcoin dominance to where it had gone very low. And so that's the repetitive theme that we see each time when those 702s become a problem, is that there's already been some type of insanity that has happened in the market. And we just know that we aren't there yet, right? If somehow, some way, the Bitcoin dominance just collapses on itself before Bitcoin's able to cross 119,300, then fair enough. But that seems pretty hard to visualize happening. So we'll have to give this a little bit more time to play out. If it's able to clear through these levels, then we'll kind of start moving back into the discussions of a parabola here for Bitcoin. But until then, we just kind of got to keep an eye out on that. But the Bitcoin dominance, once again, is telling me that the story is now going to be the altcoin market for the remainder of this thing, barring that we see the actual escape happen here for the altcoin market and get some serious juice kicked into this thing. And at the same time, of course, the Russell 2000. So we've gotten decent reactions so far coming off of the Fed. Tons of volatility as expected. We're not out of the woods on the volatility, but the reaction so far in overnight trading has been positive for the Russell, Dow, NASDAQ, S&P, and the altcoin market. Now we look for follow through for today on the day after the Fed and on Friday into the weekly close. So the last several weeks have really just been kind of waiting to get to this event, waiting for this market to get back to the all-time high. We're finally there. It's like if you've been kind of checked out a little bit, kind of waiting, it's now time to actually start paying pretty close attention. We are battling against the all-time high within 1% of both the altcoin market and the Russell 2000. It's a very interesting price point to be at, to pay attention to where something could actually happen here. So keep your eyes peeled. I know mine are. And we'll check in on it again tomorrow. As for those who turned into the last Fed live stream that we will be doing, so that was the conclusion of them yesterday. Obviously, we ran into some technical hiccups with the Fed's live stream feed. I think they were just dealing with a tremendous amount of traffic yesterday. Even for it being a Fed live stream, we had a tremendous amount of traffic at 8,900. And that's when the stream actually went down from the Fed. So I don't know what we would have gotten to, but we were very high. And I assume that their website was too, and they couldn't handle the bandwidth. So sorry for that, but it was just out of my control. Otherwise, guys, I'll check in with you tomorrow. In the meantime, you can check out the newsletter over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. This was posted just a couple of days ago. The biggest cycle event arrives, knocking on all-time high and a catalyst. Bitcoin, altcoins, and stocks on the edge with the Fed decision fate and developer and user activity stats. So we go through all that stuff and, of course, run through who are the major chains right now that are being worked on and used as we are knocking at this moment. If there's a time to pay attention to it, it's probably right now. You can check that out over here at blockchainbacker.substack.com. There's a link in the description to this video to the newsletter at blockchainbacker.substack.com. Otherwise, guys, eyes peeled, and I'm ready at a moment's notice. So, all right, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for watching. If you could, please like this video and give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of when I create new content and when I go live. As always, this is not investment advice and I am not a financial advisor. But if you ever need a pick-me-up or a little bit of reassurance, just remember that the blockchain backers got your back. Have a good one.